rehearsing and nursing a part. We know every part by heart.
Hello there, true believers. This is Head Speaks, a proud member of the Headcast Network family of shows. As usual, I am your host, Aaron Moss, aka Head. This is my mostly monthly Headcast, where I talk about comics, movies, role-playing games, TV shows, and anything else geeky that I want. So sit back and enjoy the ride. Let's begin.
What height will hit? On with the show, this is it.
And welcome to episode 54 of Head Speaks. This month we're going to start out with What's in Head's Long Box. So let's go ahead and roll that bumper.
Faster than a speeding bullet.
In the great hall of the Justice League,
Spider-Man and his amazing friends.
the Justice League of America versus the Legion of Doom. This is
What's in Head's Long Box?
Dedicated to truth, justice, and peace for all mankind.
And this month on What's in Head's Long Box, we're going to finish up with our Armageddon 2001. Actually, it's just called Armageddon Alien Agenda. We're going to look at that. We're going to finish up looking at episodes, issues 3 and 4. So let's go and get started. First up, of course, we're going to look at issue number 3, Armageddon Alien Agenda number 3. The cover date on this was January of 1992. The on-sale date was December 3rd, 1991. The cover price was $1. The title of this was The West Years of Our Lives. Written by Jonathan Peterson. Penciler was Alan Lee Weiss. Inker, Joseph Rubinstein. Letterer, Albert Tobias de Guzman. Colorist, Tom McGraw. Editor, Dennis O'Neil. The cover was done by Dick Giordano. Now for the synopsis. This tale is broken up between Captain Atom, a.k.a. Nathaniel, and Monarch, a.k.a. Hank. I'll focus on one and then the other until they actually meet up. Just make things a little less confusing. In the alien city, Monarch awakens from his slumber with the rest of the alien force. Monarch and his pals, in quotes, realize that Gurgand, the alien from last issue, has already awakened and failed to stop Captain Atom. Well, that and that Prime 1 intended to double-cross Hank. They then head out to finish their job. Meanwhile, the city undergoes a civil war between the religious and the military, with the current Prime 1 being gunned down in front of his son. Meanwhile, once again, Captain Atom reappears, this time in front of a stampede of cattle. Able to power up long enough to survive, his unconscious human body is found by Matt Savage. Waking up later, Nat gets dressed in cowboy gear and uses his powers to pet his emblem on his shirt. He then meets Johnny Thunder. Nate explains that he's missing an item that can save or destroy the world. Matt informs him that one of his men found it and has it in town trying to sell it. So the three men head towards town. At town, they head towards the saloon, of course, where they meet Jonah Hex, the Sugar Twins, Powwow Smith, Flamebird, and Batlash. Plus they get an honest-God barroom brawl. And this is where Monarch shows up, and him and Captain Atom renew their fight. While fighting, Hank accidentally shoots an alien gun at the ground, causing an earthquake, which hits San Francisco, causing an oil gusher, and sets off the detonator, once again throwing the two men forward in time. This time, Captain Atom lands in a Nazi camp, surrounded by soldiers, as our story ends. So now let's go look at the actual story itself. Before I get into the story, let me go over a few things. This issue here, as I talked about in the synopsis, we get, it's a Western story, so of course DC, or Jonathan Peterson, someone in their infinite wisdom, decided to throw every single Western hero DC had. So before I get into the actual story, I'm going to read off a little bit about the characters we're going to meet in this issue. I've already mentioned for the most part. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. So, first one is Matt Savage, Trail Boss. He was created by Gardner Fox, Gil Kane, and Joe Gilia. The character was a late addition to Western Comics, taking Nighthawk's slot in issue 77, which came out September-October of 1959, but the title's cover feature until the end, which was issue 85. It was later established that Matt was Scout Punter's father and was also related to Lieutenant Steve Savage, the World War I pilot briefly featured in All-American Men of War. Next one I mentioned is Pow Wow Smith. He moved over from Detective Comics. He was a character first appeared in Western Comics issue 43, which came out January-February of 1954, and at that point becoming a principal figure, often appearing on the cover. He appeared in every issue until the end of the title's run. He was created by Don Cameron and penciler Carmen Infantino, who's known for The Flash. He is a Sioux who is the sheriff of a small western town of Elkhorn, where he is known as a master detective. Next character is Jonah Woodson Hex. He's a fictional anti-hero appearing in comic books published in the USA by DC Comics. Character was created by writer John Albano and artist Tony DeZungia. Hex is a surly and cynical bounty hunter whose face is horribly scarred on the right side. Despite his poor reputation and personality, Hex is bound by a personal code of honor to protect and avenge the innocent. His title was canceled during the Crisis on Infinite Earths, in which Jonah also appeared along with Scout Hunter and other Western heroes in issue number 3. But in the same year, Jonah moved to a new 18-issue series called Hex, which was penned by Michael Fleischer. Somehow, Hex found that he'd been transported to the 21st century and became somewhat of a post-apocalyptic warrior reminiscent of Mad Max. The series had a mediocre success in the United States, but was critically acclaimed and well received in Great Britain, Italy, Spain, and Japan. And Jonah Hex's first appearance was All-Star Western number 10 that came out February and March of 1972. Also, Jonah Hex you may have heard of. He had a movie starring Josh Brolin, and he's appeared in the Legends of Tomorrow TV show. So out of all the Western heroes, I think he's the one that's wound up most on top. Also, we see Trigger Twins, in case I have problems pronouncing words. His first appearance was All-Star Western number 58, May of 1951, created by Robert Kanigher and Art Carmen Infantino, once again. Their real names is Walter and Wayne Trigger. They have excellent marksmanship and hand-to-hand competence. They first appeared in All-Star Western number 58, as I said. It was the first issue of that title under its new name. Previously it was known as All-Star Comics, which, if I'm not mistaken, was a superhero comic. And was one of the features that replaced the previous stars, the Justice Society of America. Told you. Anyways, the series featured the adventures of a pair of twin brothers, Walt and Wayne Trigger. Walt is a sheriff, while Wayne is a civilian. However, Wayne is more accurate and faster on the draw with firearms than his brother, a secret only known by the pair. The series' running theme has Wayne impersonating Walt on various adventures as needed, though secretly wearing identical clothes and using a twin of Walt's horse, so no one suspects that, the one's covering for the other. It ran through All-Star Western number 116 in 1961, after which they were replaced by another feature and were unseen until Showcase number 72, which came out in February of 1968, when the story was reprinted under the banner Top Gun, a one-shot filler issue. In 1973, they were given a short-lived title. The twins also appeared in the All-Star Squadron during the Crisis on Infinite Earths, at which point it was revealed they reside on Earth 2. Their origin was told in Secret Origins, Volume 2, number 48, in April of 1990. For more on them, definitely check out Ryan Daly's Secret Origins podcast, episode 48. And they were also seen in Weird Western Tales number 71. The final character that I mentioned was referred to as Flamebird, which I'll talk about later on when I talk about the actual issue. But actually, I guess his name was Firehair. Again, I'll talk about this here in a minute, but this was thanks to Clinton Robinson from the Coffee and Comics blog. This was apparently a mistake. In that scene, Power refers to him as Flamebird, but like I said, it appears to be actually Flame here. His first appearance was Showcase number 85, September of 1969. And that was like 2 months before I was born, 3 months. Firehair was born sometime during the 1800s. He was a lone survivor of a wagon train massacre by the Blackfoot Indians. The infant boy was adopted and raised by the Blackfoot chief, Gray Cloud. By the age of 18, Firehair was more skilled than any of his peers in the tribe and left to discover his true heritage. He became a protector on those plains and sadly was despised by both the whites and the Indians. At some point in his life, Firehair experienced two bizarre manipulations of the time stream. He was present during the Crisis on Infinite Earths, when the various parallel worlds and timelines of the multiverse began to overlap with one another. He was also one of the many time-lost adventurers who found themselves trapped on Dinosaur Island, where he took place in the War That Time Forgot, which was released in July of 2008. Later in his life, Firehair became a close ally of Hawk, son of Tomahawk. In 1872, he journeyed with Hawk to the hacienda of Lazarus Lane, whom at the time was under the control of the evil Wise Owl. Firehair, along with several other notable gunslingers, helped to defeat Wise Owl and free Lazarus Lane. Now that I've covered the Western characters that appeared, let's go ahead and take a look at the actual issue itself. As usual, we're going to start off the cover. We have our Armageddon Alien Agenda on the logo. We have Monarch facing away from us. His helmet's off. We can see his hair. In front of him, we have Captain Atom in his cowboy outfit, as we're going to talk about. He's saying, "All right, Monarch, you low down, belly crawling varmint, make your play." And then we get someone running away from behind him, some other people behind a building and inside buildings watching. It's a good cover. I like this cover. It's very reminiscent of Western movies and Western times, so I got no problem with this cover. It's not the greatest. Again, as we're going to talk about here in a bit, the series wasn't the greatest. It wasn't bad. And again, this cover was decent. I would give it a good C+, maybe a B-. Can't really complain about it. Then we go into our story itself. As I talked about there in synopsis, we start off Captain Atom appearing in a field with cattle running at him. And I like this. And again, this isn't the first time he's appeared in front of a stampede, in quotes. And he references it here. He's like, for crying out loud, how many times can the same thing happen to one guy? Stampede! Again, a great splash page of the cattle just rushing down on Captain Atom. And again, I do like that line about how many times can this happen to the same guy. Again, very reminiscent, though this came out first, of Die Hard 2, I believe it was, where he was being attacked by terrorists, whatever, and he's like, Bruce Willis said the same thing, or pretty much. How many times can the same thing happen to this guy, the one guy? So again, I love that line. I think it's a great line. And like I said, I think Jonathan Peterson used it here first. So good on you, Jonathan. That was a great line. So moving on to the story, Captain Atom's able to power up. So again, here on pages aren't numbered, so I'm looking at page 3. We get a brief shot of Captain Atom holding onto the sphere. And then here at the bottom of the page, we get Captain Atom back to his human form, as I talked about, with the cowboys, Matt Savage, and all the other guys looking at him. And Captain Atom's buck naked. And luckily, the sand is covering his naughty bits. I do like the fact that the artist was able to cover up, so he's not completely nude, but he's got a covering of sand. And then again, we get, never be said that Matt Savage never let a cow poke a need. And again, this is a close-up of Matt Savage. I've never really read any of those comics, so the name sounded familiar, but when I first read this, it didn't really mean anything to me. I had to look him up. And then story-wise, we go back to Monarch being freed from his suspended hibernation. And again, here at the bottom of this page, again, they're not numbered, so I hate that. It's hard to discuss it, but page where they wake up, Hank is talking about one of the aliens, and Hank's realizing that the alien leader, I forget his name, Prime 1 had scheduled the Gargan's pod to open first. And his original plan was for Gargan to get the detonator and then, I guess, go home that way, leaving Hank and the other guys in suspended hibernation for the rest of their life, I guess. And they would take off. And so again, that pisses off. And again, I like the look here on Hank's face. His eyes are squinched together, and he's really upset about this. I do. Again, while we do have problems with the whole Hank becoming monarch and this series in general, overall, I do like this panel. And again, it plays up very much to Hank, his anger and his hot-headedness, I guess. And the next page, we get Captain Atom, as I talked about. He's getting the cowboy uniform on. The cowboy outfit. Someone gave it to him. And he's using his quantum energy to, as it says here, a little quantum sewing. And he changes the symbol that's on there into his own symbol. I guess there was a flower on there to begin with. You can't really tell too well, but he changes it to the quantum, which kind of maybe answers a question I had from the previous issue. Because if I remember right, the previous issue, he was in the Gladiator times, and, well, see, I don't know. No, it doesn't. Not really. I think it was on his quote. I went back to issue 2 real quick to look. And, actually, he's got the quantum symbol on his chest. Later on, they have it on his armor, and that may answer why it's on his armor, because he may have, again, done some quantum sewing, as he called it, to put it on there, but it still doesn't explain why it was on his chest. So I still don't know about that. I'd like to talk with Jonathan Pierce if I could to see if maybe he knows why it was done that way. I don't know if it was his idea or if that was the writers, their artist idea to put it on there. I'm curious about that. It kind of bugs me. But again, I do like the art on here. The cowboys are very, again, in quotes, realistic looking. And so Captain Adam's talking to these cowboys, Matt Savage and Johnny Thunder. And I like this Captain Adam's meeting him, and he's like, well, you're really Johnny Thunder? You were my hero as a kid. I must have read every comic book there was about you. And Johnny Thunder's like, can't rightly say I know what you're talking about, friend. What's a comic book? And he's like, maybe these cattle rattled my brain more than I thought. And he starts to introduce himself. He says, I'm Captain Adam. And I think it's Matt Savage. Like, oh, Captain, huh? Seems like you're cavalry. And so he says, and he thinks he says Adam, A-D-A-M. And he tries to explain, he's like, no, Adam, like the nuclear particle. And this one, I think, is, Matt Savage is like, nuclear what? Whaticle? I imagine that's how the original Shag pronounces it, but that's another story entirely. Anyway, so Nathaniel, tells him, I'm just a civilian now, just call me Nat. And so, of course, they ride into town with Matt Savage and Johnny Thunder following along. And then we get to the part where I talked about where we have the uprising and Prime 1 gets killed in front of his son, and his son's, all they care about is their guns, their violence. If that's all they care about, ruling by force, I will ascend to avenge you, and my rule will be the most violent of all. Right before he's like, Father! And again, for being squid face aliens, he's got some tears coming, and it's a very touching scene for what it is. Whatever problems I may have with this series and in this issue, this isn't one of them. I do like the way the aliens are played out here. Again, it's kind of stereotypical that, the father gets gunned down in front of his son takes a plea over his father's dead body. Sounds very familiar. But, and again, this came out in 1991. And, they're talking about violence and guns. And here we are in 2020 having similar issues. And again, I don't want to turn this into a gun debate. I've got my thoughts on it. I made it clear, I think, maybe over time on my Facebook page. But I think it's interesting that, here we are almost 30 years later, and we still have, people being gunned down. It's just, I don't know. But moving on from the gun scene, we're going to move to more guns, where we have Nate and the other guy, cowboys, riding into Dry Gulch. And they go into a bar. And as he walks into the bar here at the bottom of this one page, I do like when they go walking in, they're walking into a saloon. And Captain Adam tells him, the drinks are on me after I cover my property. And he's like, well, Pedro, the guy that stole the detonator, is probably in this bar getting drunk. And Captain Adam's like, uh-oh, in there? Sure, where else would varmints like us wash the prayer out of our throats? Something wrong? No, it's just giving my luck lately. I know what's bothering you. Don't worry, Nat. Them cheap stories you hear told got us all wrong. We're running an orderly saloon out this way. Well, there's been a fight in here at least 3 weeks. Come on. And so on this bottom page, there's an old coot sitting there going, thinking to himself, East Coast sissy. And then around the corner, we see Monarch with one of the alien guns like, it is him, at last, our showdown. And again, this is a Western comic, or a Western time. It is a comic book, so it is going to be very stereotypical. And a lot of this is, and as I'm going to get to here in just a minute, very stereotypical. They've got to hang out in a saloon. And just the dialogue in here is very Western. Again, I wasn't around those times, contrary to what my kids think. So I don't know if that's how they spoke, but it's what you expect from a Western. And they go in the bar, and here in the first panel, we see Pedro holding the detonator, trying to figure out who he can sell it to. And then on this one page, we meet all these characters. First, they see Jonah Hex. He sees the Trigger Twins. And they're all kind of arguing, Mom always did like you the best. She couldn't tell us apart, you idiots. We got some girl hitting on Captain Adam. And off in the distance, he sees Powwow Smith. And he's like, who's that with them? And here's where the error's at. Powwow Smith's like, maybe this business deal is getting out of hand, Flamebird. And so we get some kid there. And that's why I went to the inner tubes. I couldn't find anything on a Flamebird for the Old West time. So I went to this, as I mentioned before, I'm on a podcasters chat group. And this was late at night when I threw it out there. I'm like, hey, when you guys get up, if anyone has an idea, in this issue, there's someone called Flamebird. Has anyone heard of him? Do he is? And like I said, thanks to Clinton Robinson. Thanks, Clinton. He informed me that more than likely, he's like, are you taking a fire hair? I'm like, they call him Flamebird. I don't know. So I looked up Flame Hair, and that's who this is. So I don't know if that was the writer made a mistake, or if the letterer miswrote the name, or again, if no one cares about Flame Hair, so they call him Flamebird, and no one really caught it. I don't know, or Dennis O'Neill, the editor, fell asleep on the job. I don't know. That would be if the writer or whoever made the mistake, that would be Dennis O'Neill's job to catch. And then a big guy comes up, and he sees this girl flirting with Captain Adam. And so again, he throws him around, he's ready to fight him. Captain Adam's able to duck as this big burly guy, Socks, swings. The big guy name's Bull. He swings at the guy standing there, who we find out is Batlash, which I forgot to mention in my opening, in the synopsis. And so, I got like Batlash, because this was on a different page, and I forgot to look at this page when I was looking at it. And again, that starts out a barroom brawl. Again, all the Western heroes, and then we get a big splash page. Again, it's a good splash page. My only problem with this is that all these Western characters, in quotes, these people that had books and appeared in books, are all at the bar at the same time. It's a little... just the fact that they were all at the bar at the same time is really odd. I understand just for the comic book purposes, but... And just a way to get all their Western characters in this one issue. As we're going to find out, there's not much more chance to get them in here besides here. So I can see what Jonathan was going for, but it just seems, just a little thrown in there. And as I said, we get a barroom brawl. We get, I think it's Batlash swinging on a chandelier. And they start fighting. Just huge splash page. There's just one bar winch, I guess, hitting a guy on top of the head of a mug. Guys on top of the bar fighting. People being thrown around. Jonah Hex socking somebody. This one girl down the floor, staring at the camera. Another guy's getting socked as he's looking at us. And this is signed by Alan Weiss in 1991. And again, it's good. Don't get me wrong, it's a Western, so you're going to have a barroom brawl. But that's part of my problem is that it's a Western, so they had to have a barroom brawl. It's very much of a trope. It's very much of a stereotypical thing to do. I can't complain about it because it happens all the time, but that's kind of why I'm complaining about it. But for what it is, if you can get over the whole convenience of all these heroes being at one place, and of course a barroom brawl breaking out, and you knew it was going to be a barroom brawl when Captain Atom, he starts walking, he's like, oh, knowing my luck, and of course we get a big fight. And again, we get a little dialogue here. We get Jonah Hex hitting somebody saying, "Dag damn it, not trying to be nice today." And he goes, Batlash is like, "Jonah, that ugly face of yours is good for one thing, fighting. Now hurry up, I'm on my third guy. Whoops, pardon my fist, friend." And Captain Atom goes to hit another cowboy standing there, and this is just so cool. "Here, pal, this one's for..." And he selects this guy. You hear a ting, and he's like, what gives? And we find out it's Hank, and he's like, "What's the matter, partner? No kind words for an old friend?" And Monarch picks Nate up over his head, as Nate's like, "Monarch?" And again, the dialogue here is a little wonky, I guess. A little I don't know. So Hank picks up Captain Atom, and he's like, as he's holding him in the air, Captain Atom's like, "What? Hey, pet me down. The air's getting thin up here." And so he says that so Hank can do his next line, which is, "Oh yeah? Then how about if I give you some fresh air?" Blah, ha, 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 ha. And of course, being a big fan of the Giffen D. Mateus Just League International podcast, shout out to Shag, I love the wahaha, but this whole dialogue here, I mean, Captain Atom, a guy who turns into metal and flies through the air, flies through space, complaining about heating up in the air, saying the air's getting thin up here. I don't know. It seems a little hokey. Cheesy, that's the word I've been looking for. And normally I love cheese, but that's just a little too thick for me. But Monarch throws Captain Atom through a window, and he's like, "Sorry, Cap, I was aiming for the wall." And Nate's like, "What are you doing here? I thought I left you back for the dinosaurs." And he's like, "The aliens? Oh, that's the funny part about it all. See, I know I couldn't trust you. You're too nice. But those weasels make great allies. So hire me bring back this toy you stole." This will be a good shot of Hank standing here holding the detonator. And then there's a nice shot here on this page of Captain Atom standing. So on one side we have, and it's not quite the same type of panel. This one's a closed-in panel showing an upward-looking shot of Hank holding the detonator under his cowboy jacket. We can see his Monarch armor. And then the opposite panel, the third panel, we have a nice shot of Captain Atom standing there in a cowboy standard pose. His hat's hanging behind him, and he's just like he's ready for a duel. And then as Captain Atom's about to face down with Monarch, one of the aliens comes behind him with one of their guns, and he tries to shoot Captain Atom. He says, "Captain Atom, don't move. I have you covered. Now give me the detonator, or I'll be forced to do this to you." And he lets off the gun that blows up the top of the saloon. And again, another little bit of the dialogue here that's kind of got some problems. We have Monarch standing there. Looks like he's holding the detonator. And then the alien comes up behind Captain Atom and tells him to hand over the detonator. I don't know. Again, Hank's already got the detonator, so I don't know why the alien's asking for it. A bit of either, I don't know, either maybe Hank wasn't supposed to have the detonator at this time, the artist made a mistake, or Jonathan Peterson made a mistake in the I don't quite know. Again, just those little things that, what the heck? And so, as I said, the alien shoots his laser beam at the top of the saloon, causes it to explode, and Nathaniel falls to the ground and uses his finger like a gun and shoots him. Again, nice seeing him laying there on the ground, shooting the alien, knocking him down, and then below that, he's blowing smoke off his finger, saying, "Ha, still the fastest quantum blast in the West." And the next panel over, the old guy's like, "Wow, that's gotta be the quickest draw I ever saw." Another guy's like, "You're telling me I didn't even see him pull his gun." And then we get Captain Atom jumping on top of Monarch, who's picked up the alien's gun. Again, a little bit of a quirk here, I guess. I don't know, maybe something got missed or what happened, but for some reason, Hank has dropped the detonator to pick up this alien gun. I don't quite know. I know he wants, and maybe that's why. Maybe it's just his hatred for Captain Atom is so great, and he wants to destroy him so bad that he's willing to put the detonator down and pick up the gun to shoot Captain Atom. I'm assuming that's what's going on here. And they're fighting. Captain Atom's trying to explain to him that, the aliens are going to use the detonator to destroy the Earth. And as they're fighting, I think it's Batlash and I'm terrible with these cowboy names. One of the other guys standing there, and one guy's like, "What do you think? Should we help him?" "Nah, only looks like he's going to lose. After all, if Nat's dead, he won't be able to buy those beers he promised." And so as they're fighting over the gun, Nate's trying to explain to Hank how the aliens are going to explode the detonator, destroy the Earth, and make a wormhole back to their planets. And Hank thinks he's either lying or crazy. He's like, "You're nuts, you know that? I enjoy killing you. Now let go of this gun, and I'll make this nice and quick." And all of a sudden, one of them shoots the gun off, hits the ground, causing a earthquake. And apparently, they're here for an oil rush. Again, they mentioned earlier they're here to get rich. There's something here that's going to make them become all rich. And Nate, at this moment, realized that they're here for an oil rush. The whole town's one big geological find, and the stray blast that they just shot into the ground has triggered an earthquake. So before I go any further on that, just talk about that. Again, it's a very powerful gun. Again, they're able to shoot that off, and it's able to cause an earthquake. Maybe it's an alien gun, so I guess I can't complain about that. Maybe they had it on higher setting because it just destroyed the top of a building. Now it's able to cause an earthquake. And maybe if it's on a tectonic plate, maybe, I guess it's possible. But they also say this set off an earthquake in San Francisco. And so there was a huge San Francisco earthquake. And the dialogue here says, let me find that again real quick. The narrator's talking about the shockwaves travel for untold miles, triggering repeated reactions that only build in successive intensity. And so is that by the time the earthquake swings north and hits full force, no one in particular seaboard city is prepared, and thus San Francisco will suffer its greatest tragedy. So I was wondering, was there an actual earthquake in the 1800s? Again, I know there was earthquakes because San Francisco always has earthquakes. But I was curious if there was a big one. And so looking on Wikipedia, and I found a link to the San Francisco Museum.org. It wasn't Wikipedia, it was Google. My Google foo. San Francisco SFmuseum.org. And it talked about all the different earthquakes in that time frame. And October 21st, 1868, there was a great earthquake that struck San Francisco at 7:53 a.m. with a second shock at 9:33 a.m. The main fact, the earthquake was felt in the city. 4 persons were killed by the corners of cornices and chimneys. The custom house was badly damaged. Several other buildings were damaged. It was quite severe. Threw down some tottering walls. There was a succession of slighter shocks throughout the day. So I'm wondering if this was that earthquake. If maybe in DC's reality, this is what caused that earthquake to happen. Again, that looks to be the biggest one in this time frame where this could have appeared. Again, on this page, there's a lot of earthquakes, but seeing how this is, again, it's highlighted in blue. That's a link somewhere. A great earthquake of San Francisco. At least to a newspaper article about it. Okay, or reprinting of one or whatever. There's also one in October 1865. There was San Francisco was wrecked by an earthquake. So I'm not quite sure which great earthquake, because again, San Francisco's had quite a bit of earthquakes. I'm not quite sure which one this is referring to. Again, if I get a chance to talk with Jonathan Peterson, I may have to ask him which one he was going for. But again, it's a nice page here, again, showing the San Francisco earthquake. A little cartoony, I think, but again, we get the rolling streets, we get fires, we get explosions, we get buildings falling, people, a guy holding on to dear life falling into the hole. Slightly cartoony a little bit, I guess, but not bad. On the page before that, where we see the ground cracking as it leads to San Francisco, some nice drawings in this. Some nice art. And then the 2 men and the detonator fall into the hole that opens up in the earth underneath them. again, Hank is so upset with Captain Adam that he's like, this is your fault. I had a plan. I had allies. We're going to send me home. But now we'll never reach them. Well, listen, Tin Man, if I'm going to die, I'm taking you with me. And again, so they fall in. And as they fall in, Captain Adam's yelling that the stray energy from the earthquake has upset the internal power balance. And once again, it's going to blow. And Hank's like, you don't mean, oh, crap, not again. We get a whoa as it explodes. The ground explodes where the detonator goes off. And then we get the guy standing around talking about Lash like, they both fell in. I don't reckon anyone ever survived that blast. I think it was Matt Savage like, poor Nat, he was a good man. And Bat Lash, hey, he died with his boots on. I think that's where he wanted to go. Well, and I think it's, I forget which one this is. Anyway, one of the other Indians, one of the other cowboy guys are standing, he's like, see upstairs, Nat. Hope you can buy me that beer in heaven. And then all of a sudden, we get oil gushing out of the ground, and one of the cowboys guys, hey, look, we're rich. They had a gusher. And someone's like, hey, who? Old Nate's still looking out for his old friends. And one of the cowboy guys is like, yeah, we're rich. And the Indian Sandy's like, what do you mean, we, white man? This land is government issue. It still belongs to the Indians. We haven't sold it to you yet. You're still broke. And they start fighting again. We have a caption here saying, and so the sun sets on another colorful day in the Old West. And again, I don't know. Maybe it's just the mood I'm in right now. It's just complaining about all these Western barroom brawls and all that. It's par for the course. It happens in movies all the time, so I can't complain about it. But then we see Captain Adam. Again, he's in a cowboy uniform still, materializing in. We got a Nazi flag behind him, the swastika. And we got he's surrounded by Nazis. Hands up, pig. Well, look what we have here, Hans. It seems that we have a real-life American cowboy, no? Or perhaps a spy. And so, again, Nat's translators translating what they're saying so he understands them. And again, I'm assuming that's translated, or maybe they can tell he's American, so they're speaking English. I'm not sure which it is. If they're speaking English, I don't have a problem with it. If it's a translator, I don't know why he would be translating well into vel. I don't know. Again, so I first thought it was the translator, but looking at it, the one guy says that he appears to be a live American cowboy, so maybe they're speaking English just so that Nate can understand him. Again, overall, it's not a bad issue. I go back and forth on this. I know, like I think I said before, I talked on the Facebook group I'm on. I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to be doing the Armageddon Alien Agenda. Anyone want to join me on that? And the chat got very quiet. People were hiding under rocks and don't get me. So people weren't really interested in talking about this. Well, I had a couple of people that was maybe interested in Inferno. But yeah, this one here, when I tell people I'm doing this one, they're like, why? Are you a glutton for punishment? But overall, I'm going to say so far, and again, I've got one more issue to go, but overall, it hasn't been a horrible series. It's not great, but I don't think it's bad. But let's go and find out. Let's go and go to the final issue. This is Armageddon, Alien Agenda number 4. The cover date was February of 1992. The on-sale date was January the 7th of 1992. Cover price was $1. The title of this was called All This in World War II. And that's 2 as in T-O-O, not the number 2. Written, once again, by Jonathan Peterson. Penciler, Dick Giordano. Inker, Steve Mitchell. Letter, Albert Tobias de Guzman. Colorist, Tom McGraw. And still edited by Dennis O'Neill. And the cover on this was by Dick Giordano. So again, no matter what I say about this series, at least this issue is drawn by Dick Giordano. One of the greats, in most people's opinion, and mine too. So again, our synopsis on this. We start off Nate in a chair being questioned and beat by a German officer. The Germans believe that he is an American flyboy spying on Germany. Before he be knocked out, Nate notices the date is September the 10th, 1944. He's then thrown to a cell with other prisoners. After making friends, in quotes, with a couple of kids, Captain Adam decides that he must take action, whether it changes the future or not. So he breaks out, breaks free, and frees all the prisoners along the way, destroying the camp. As Captain Atom flies off, a German, I'm assuming it's a German soldier, lines a scope on the kids that Nate befriended and an older woman, and the scene concludes as the gun fires. Meanwhile, Hank awakens on an island surrounded by Japanese soldiers, which he takes out. He finds a bomb that the Americans are testing in secret. Captain Atom shows up. The two begin fighting again as the seal in the detonator breaks, causing another explosion mixed with the nuclear bomb. As the two men are once again thrown through time, a tidal wave wipes out the American ship that were testing the bomb. To keep this whole thing secret, Captain Atom and Monarch are separated as Captain Atom lands in present time. Finally, back with the aliens. Remember them? The son of the previous Prime One discovers Captain Atom returning to the present and vows that he must die. And the issue ends with the promise of a new Captain Atom series. Technically, it says, as the all-new Captain Atom returns, coming to a comic rack soon near you. So it seems like there's a new series coming out. But let's go ahead and talk about the actual issue itself. So we start off the cover. Again, I like this cover. It's when I remember we get a giant white blast blasting both Captain Atom and Monarch, and it says, and now, the final moments. Again, it's all done in black and white, except for the color of the lettering of the creators, the DC logo on the top, and the title, Armageddon, Alien Agenda, and all the lettering. But the picture itself is just a black and white picture, a huge white blast, illuminating our heroes in shadows. Overall, this is Dick Giordano. I can't complain. I love Dick Giordano's work for the most part, and this, again, is just another fabulous piece of work. Again, we get Captain Atom is being kind of cover his face. I mean, not cover his face, he's got his arm up. Hank, just the fear on Hank's fear, and maybe his pain on Hank's face as he's being blasted by this blast. It's not something from the actual issue. I guess maybe it is when they get blasted at the very end. But yeah, it's a good cover. I like it. In fact, this may be, thinking about it now, this may be possibly my favorite cover of the entire run. I'm just taking a quick look back at them. I mean, the last one had the cowboy one, which was pretty good. The one before that had Captain Atom and Gargand, whatever his name was, in the Coliseum fighting. That wasn't a bad one. And then the first one is a little more memorable to me because I remember this cover, a little busy. It's the one got the aliens watching Monarch and Captain Atom fighting. So out of the four covers, I would say that this is probably my most favorite of the four covers. As I talked about, we get the Germans interrogating Captain Atom. And so again, since we know that his translator doesn't translate what he says, it just translates what he hears. I'm assuming they're all speaking English, so they can understand. They're interrogating. They think he's an American spy, trying to find out what the detonator is. And Captain Atom's like, oh God, that still can't be with me. Not with them. And then that's where he looks up and says September 10th of 1944. He says that it means nothing to them, but to Captain Atom. I'm not quite sure what he's referring to there, unless he's talking about that secret testing. I looked up, because again, Captain Atom came out in the 60s, if I'm not mistaken. In DC, though, in the current DC universe, he came out in the 80s, and he was subjected to the blast like in the 60s, so I'm not quite sure there why it's meaning Captain Atom. I looked up on Wikipedia and Google, looked on the internet to see what I could find out about September the 10th, 1944 in reality. And these are the things I found. There was an RAF bomber command began Operation Paravine. Another attack on the German battleship Chippens anchored northern Norway. The U.S. 3rd Armored Division occupied St. Vith and reached the German border. The liberation of Luxembourg, and German submarines U-20 and U-23 were scuttled in the Black Sea to prevent capture by advancing Soviets. So I'm not quite sure, unless maybe he just knows about the secret nuclear testing, which I couldn't find anything on offhand. Maybe I missed something. Again, maybe my Google foo skills were a little weak. If anyone out there knows what the September the 10th of 1944 is referring to, let me know. I'm curious at this point. And like I said, when he's getting knocked out, he says, it's not if it's right, it may not mean much to them, but to Captain Adam, it's ugh. So I'm not quite sure what that date means. Anyway, let's move on. But if anyone out there knows what Captain Adam, other than maybe that he knows about the bomb, what that date would mean to Captain Adam, let me know if you know. I like how he gets thrown in the cell, befriends these kids, they give him the last bit of their food because they tell he's hungry. Again, just moving on. He's in a German prison camp. Again, some people don't care for when comics cross over to reality. I don't mind it. Again, this is something that actually happened. And again, we'll get here in just a minute. But before we get there, though, we get to a scene of Prime 1, the new one, which was the kid from last issue. Again, he's ranting and raving, as lunatics tend to do. They've got a statue of, he's supposed to be his father. Yeah, his forefathers slew the beast that confined them. So they got one of the Midgard holding a spear onto Captain Adam. And again, he's ranting and raving. And again, the religious fanatics, if you will, have kind of taken control, and someone stands up to him and says, wait, this is an ancient myth, a religious fable taught to us as children. You're supposed to be our leader. Act like it. This insane statue shamed your predecessors. And he has his guards just shoot this guy down because, again, very much of a tyrant at this point. Again, he's upset that his father was killed in front of him. So again, as tyrants tend to do, he tells everyone to pledge their undying allegiance to him and your purity into me, and I promise you this, we will have our deliverer yet. And then we cut to, like I talked about in the synopsis, Hank going through the jungle, finding some Japanese, a little fight there. He takes the Japanese guys out. And again, they're speaking English too. I don't know how well the Germans and the Japanese spoke English, and how much of it's for convenience sake, but again, helps us out. And again, I like this, Hank picks up one of the Japanese guys and throws him to the other and says, let me show you boys how I play bowling for Nimrods. There we go, strike! And that's when he sees there's a Japanese flag, and he looks out and he sees a bunch of American ships out in the distance. Back to the prison camp. I do like here, so the kids, they give Nate the last of their meal. They want him to have it. And I know, honey, you eat it. Give him the last of the dinner. Again, these kids are prisoners, as we find out in just a minute. Their mom is dead. They were taken to the building, which I'm assuming is the showers that they've always heard about, last week, and they've never seen her again. And again, so these kids have lost their mom. No mention of his dad, so they're assuming their dad's dead. They're prisoners of German soldiers. They can be killed at any time, and they're showing kindness on this stranger. Again, it's a very touching scene, very moving, and it makes Captain Adam realize that, no matter what, he got this little girl crying to him, and she's like, and again, this dialogue here, it's like, Captain Adam's like, I'm sorry, you have to excuse me. He stopped himself from crying. And the little boy says, it's all right to cry, Mr. Really. The little girl's like, Mom told us to help take away the pain. It's going to be our turn to go into that building soon, too, won't it? And then maybe we'll see Mommy again. And again, the girl crying. And again, this touches Captain Adam as the oldest kid. Because again, Captain Adam has kids of his own. And so just holding these kids have lost their parents reminds him of his own kids, reminds him what it would feel like for his own kids to lose their parents, which they kind of did lose their dad because he was jettisoned through time for 20 years. And again, Captain Adam's got some tears for. He's like, dear God, the things they've seen, the scars they'll bear. They're just kids, damn it. No, this isn't right. This isn't fair. Screw history. As he turns into Captain Adam, explodes the side of the building, and they come running up shooting, and a lot of them enter their clips into it. And Captain Adam's like, finished? Good. My turn. He starts taking them all out, takes out a tank. They're one of the German officers. You heard me a breakout. Of course it's serious. An all-out attack. Just send help. Send armor. Send men. Just save me. As Captain Adam knocks him out, just shut up. And you get a complaint, because that's what I do. The guy, he's speaking English, looks like. They don't have, usually they'll have little marks around it saying that, it's a foreign language. They're not doing that here, which, again, would lead you to believe that they're speaking English. They're not speaking to a prisoner. He's speaking to his superiors or someone else elsewhere, so it seems like he would be yelling in German. A minor nitpick. I mean, in my head, I could pet them there. Maybe they came off. Maybe, I don't know. I'm assuming it's a letter mistake there. So the guy pulls his gun out, shoots at Captain Adam. He's like, I didn't. My orders. And Captain Adam pulls the detonator from him that he has. Or no, he pulls the gun from him. He has the detonator in his other hand. And he's like, you got 5 minutes to clear your men out, General. Or I'll be responsible for what happens. Once everyone gets out, he blows up the building. He says, that's something I should have done a long time ago. Stand for something. So again, he's just kind of questioning his own beliefs and what he feels he's doing. So again, I do the problems we've had with Armageddon 2001, any problems with this series. Again, a lot of people didn't care for it. I'm going to say I liked it. Again, I'm still reading it. I'm still not quite done yet. But this is very much of a character piece for Captain Adam. He gets kind of re-examined. And I'm just trying to think back about the last 4 issues. There wasn't a lot of him wondering about, his mission in life. So I do like how he's saying, this is something I should have done a long time ago, stand up for something. And this was after a series. I remember his own series. It's been all since I've read it. It's been 30 years ago or whatever it was. So this one maybe I'll have to ask Jay Jones or another Captain Adam fan and see if this is something he was questioning previously. I don't know about that. But it is a nice little scene here where he's blown up the Nazi camp. And again, he doesn't care about what's going to happen to present day with this. He's just doing what's right. Again, he says here, he would sacrifice his own humanity to be here and have these powers and not do anything. And a lot of heroes worry about, when they go through time, about not wanting to change time. Again, a very real thing to be concerned about. But at this point, Captain Adam's like, the heck with history, the heck whatever happens, I can't let these kids die. And not just the kids, but people in general. And so he tells me, you know what, I gotta go. I got some things I need to do. Yeah, remember, I always love you. And the kid's like, one of the kids, I love you now. And the other one's like, well, we ever see you again? Count on it. But if all goes right, it won't be for many years from now. As he flies off. And they're off I missed this the first time. We get a German soldier, I'm assuming, someone saying in the tree saying there. And as Captain Adam flies away to the detonator, we see a gun. Like I said, there's a woman and the 2 kids. And it looks like the gun's aimed at the kids. I don't know which one. We only get 1 gunshots. And again, the kids all happy. Oh, wasn't that Nat the best? I bet he flew off to beat the rest of those lousy Nazis. We'll be okay now. Nat promised. And the woman was like, shh, I thought I heard. Children, look out. Blam. Arrgh. We get a caption box saying, and so barbaric moment and time concludes for now. So again, it's a little, I don't want to say depressing, but it's a little sad pin in this. Captain Adam blows up the camp. He does his best to save all these people from the Nazis, from the Germans. And these 2 kids he saved, at least one of them dies. We don't know for sure which one. It may have been the old lady. Someone out of these 3, one of the 2 little kids, the old lady, or maybe all of them died. That's all we get. And again, it's a blam. I don't know. And there's a click, so I'm assuming it's a single shot gun. I don't think like an Uzi or multi-firing gun. Again, I'm not a big gun guy. I'm not sure the proper word I'm looking for, but an automatic, there you go. It popped in my head all of a sudden. But, so we had at least 1 kid died, maybe all 3 of them. We don't know. We're never going to know. Moving on, we got Captain Adam flying out to the Pacific, where, again, as I talked about, him and Monarch fight. And the bomb goes off. And here we go. Here we get the cover where the detonator goes off. It sets off the nuclear bomb. And so, yeah, we get the cover here. Not a full page. It's a full page with some panels set on top of it, so you only get the part of the explosion. But yeah, this is very much the cover here. And then we go out to the sea where we get the Americans watching the bomb go off, and and there's a great panel here of the nuclear bomb going off. You know, mushroom cloud, and the crews watch, and they're all lit up in white from the explosion. And all of a sudden, a tidal wave whoosh, sinks all the boats. And again, it says here, you know, an unexplained calamity in military history comes to a close for now. So again, I'm assuming that maybe that's why I couldn't find anything on Google about it, because no one ever knows, because everyone was wiped out. But then how would Captain Atom know? I don't know. I'm still wondering about that whole date thing. And then Captain Atom Monarch flying through time. Captain Atom lands on the ground with a little dog licking him, named Rusty, owned by somebody. Oh, looks like the guy's last name, Irwin, maybe? It's a shout out to Steve Irwin. Issued December of 1991. So he knows back in present time or pretty close to it. Again, it's a nice shot here. This last panel on this page, it's page 22 or so. He's, you know, Captain Atom in the shadows, the dogs, and Captain Atom's like, "Hello, America, I am home." And he feels the sunlight streaming on him. It's a nice ending to the story. But then we get a little epilogue, I guess, where we have the Prime One of his people says they found Captain Atom. He's reappeared finally. And so we get the alien saying, "Captain Atom must die." And we get a little blurb here that says, "The battle across ages concludes, and the saga of Monarch continues. As the all-new Captain Atom returns, coming to a comics rack near you." And we see an image of Captain Atom with the dog standing next to him, his arms raised in the air, that last panel from the previous page where he's celebrating the fact that he's home. And again, so this insinuates that there's going to be another Captain Atom series at some point. I looked up. The next time he appears is in Just Like America number 80, which came out in September of 1993, which is like a year and a half after this series. He's in there for about 9 months, and then 4 months after that, he stops appearing in there. He's in 0 Hour, and then he's in Extreme Justice. So I'm not quite sure. It seemed like there was going to be a series. Again, I asked on my podcasting group, and again, Clinton Robinson came to the rescue and posted an article that said that maybe there appeared like there was going to be something coming out. But again, I'm trying to get hold of maybe Jonathan Peterson or someone. Maybe I can find out what happened to this supposed series. But again, that is Armageddon Alien Agenda, all 4 issues. Overall, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I may be blackballed from the rest of my podcasting peers, but I don't think it was a bad series. I enjoyed it back in 1991 when I read it, and I actually enjoyed it this time. Was it perfect? No. Oh yeah, I'll give you that. It wasn't perfect. But I thought it was a decent series. Again, there was the alien. I don't think the aliens ever appear again. Next time Captain Atom shows up in Just League, so I don't think the aliens ever mentioned there. I'm going to have to read those Just League issues just to see what happened when he appeared there, if there's anything mentioned or how that was handled. I don't know. I remember reading when it first came. I know I read it when it first came out, but I don't remember details at this point. But again, I'm going to say overall, this was a decent series. It wasn't as horrible as most people seem to remember or claim it is. So, or maybe I'm just a softie on it because it's Armageddon. I don't know. Anyways, that's all I really got to say. But what do you guys think? Did you guys read this? Did you enjoy it? Am I crazy? Let me know what you think about this. Again, go ahead and send me an email to head@headspeaks.com and let me know. But that's going to do it for this segment. I'm going to take a quick podcasting break. I'm going to get me some more water and play some promos. And I'll be right back with the next section. Hold tight.
Head Speaks will be back after these important messages.
Theorizing that one could time travel within his own lifetime, Dr. Sam Beckett stepped into the quantum leap accelerator and vanished.
And when he does vanish, we're going to be there to see it. I'm Aaron Moss.
And I'm Michelle Moss. I've seen an episode or two of the show, but this is my first time watching it through, which makes me like Sam.
And I've seen every episode multiple times. So I guess that makes me Ziggy. Join us monthly as we watch Quantum Leap episode by episode, and then we'll discuss it.
On the Star Bright Project. Available on its own feed.
Or under the Headcast Network.
Come take the leap with us.
The time is out of joint.
The time is out of joint.
The time is out of joint.
The year is 1994, or 1944, or maybe 2994. Time is under threat, and history is falling apart. Who will survive this crisis, and how will history be changed for those that do? 0 Hour Strikes takes you back to that DC Comics crossover and covers the entire story, issue by issue, tie-in by tie-in, as the DC Universe goes down to zero. Join Bass and Siskoid at fireandwaterpodcast.com or on iTunes. 0 Hour Strikes, a proud member of the Fire and Water Podcast Network. Remember, Legion.
Hello, Paul. Hello, I am Dr. Herfenstaffner. Come in, please. Take a seat. What can I do for you today?
I can't sleep. I can't focus on anything. The only thing I can think about is like DC events.
DC event, as in the comic books. DC events.
Yes, the comic book events.
Ooh, interesting. Are we talking things like Crisis on Infinite Earths?
Yeah, totally. That one, yeah.
Infinite Crisis?
Yeah, that one too.
Oh, very, very. Invasion, maybe?
Yeah, definitely.
The Genesis?
Not so much.
No? Oh. Okay, well, I think it's really good if you talk about the things that are troubling you in your life. So maybe you should do a podcast about this obsession.
What do you call this obsession? What do you think it is?
I think you're a unique case. I've not seen anything like this before in my office. I'm going to suggest that you have what we call DC OCD.
What? DC OCD?
You are obsessive and compulsive about your DC events. I think you should talk it out, get it out of your system via a podcast. I will help you, my friend. We shall do a podcast together about your DC OCD.
Oh, okay.
I won't even charge you for it.
Awesome. I don't think I can claim you on benefits.
Yeah, it's good.
When shall we start?
I'll get back to you on that. I'll check my timetable.
Cool.
And now back to Head Speaks.
Welcome back. Now for our next segment. The Movies with Head. And welcome to this month's At the Movies with Head. Though this time, I guess the title of it's a little misleading. You're not just at the movies with Head, but you're at the movies with Head and his wife, Michelle. Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
I planned this segment a couple of months ago, but just due to timing, I didn't get it recorded. This time, I'm going to look at the different time travel TV shows that's been out there, and give my thoughts on the ones I've watched or what I think about it. and get some Michelle's thoughts too. The reason I'm doing this is, and I originally was going to do this, is that a couple people are doing some podcasts on time travel. That's right. Me and Michelle have started doing 2 new podcasts. We're doing the Star Bright Project, which is me and Michelle Michelle and I looking at Quantum Leap. I'm a long-time old-school fan of Quantum Leap. This is Michelle's first time of actually sitting through the entire series. And then we're also doing Voyager's Cast, which is based on the old TV show from 1982, Voyagers, about time travel. Again, I watched it when it first came out. I loved it. And Michelle's sitting through watching it this time with me. So, again, we get a longtime fan's opinion and perspective at it. And then also we get a newcomer, a beginner view on the show. So, they're both on the Hitcast Network. They have their own feeds. Definitely check them out. The first episode of each of them released. But enough about that. Let's go ahead and move on to this segment where we talk about time travel TV shows. So again, I'm going to make mention of them and we'll each give our own thoughts on them. The first one on my list, again, this is no really order, just what I found when I was doing searches on them. The first one to read off is Timeless. This was an NBC show. It was here relatively recent. I enjoyed that. It only lasted, I think, 2 seasons, and then they had a TV movie to finish it off. And it's about these 3 guys that are chasing some bad guys through time, trying to stop them from messing things up. Did you ever watch that one, Michelle, or no?
No, I don't think I did.
Okay, I didn't think so. But yeah, Timeless. I really enjoyed that. I was saddened that it left so soon, but definitely I recommend, if you like time travel shows, definitely check that one out. The next one I mention is Legends of Tomorrow. Michelle, have you heard of Legends of Tomorrow?
I like that show.
Yes, Legends of Tomorrow is a CW show based on DC Comics, kind of. It started out with Rip Hunter taking a handful of heroes and villains and BC listers, and he says that they can help him stop some bad guys that are going through time, and they become legends. Original cast had the Atom, Firestorm, and some other characters going through time with Rip Hunter. On paper, Rip Hunter, time travel, Firestorm, the Atom. This should have been my most favorite show ever.
Yeah, well, when it first started, I was really excited about it too, and then I just stopped watching it for the longest time, and then kind of just came back this season just to kind of watch it, and it's just now my goofy show to watch. Not even really necessarily because I enjoy superheroes, but it's just more of a safe, goofy show to watch. So that tells you how much I, on the level of comic book level it is for me. But
and I think that's one reason why I don't care for it as much as I should, because they've really embraced the goofy aspect of it.
Right, and taken away the good comic book aspect of it.
Not that, they had some to begin with, but they had Rip Hunter, who in the comics is a American.
I liked Martin Stein.
No, Rip Hunter. This was, oh yeah. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there. Rip Hunter was played by Arthur Darvill, who was on Doctor Who as Amy Pond's boyfriend, abuse toy, whatever. So he's a British guy. I didn't care for him. I don't mind the actor, but I didn't want him playing Rip Hunter. Also, as I mentioned, it had Ray Palmer, a.k.a. the Atom, one of my favorite characters.
Superman.
But, yes, Brandon Roth did play... Ray Palmer was played by Brandon Roth, who played Superman in Superman Returns. Superman. And I have no problem with Brandon Roth. I thought he did a good job in Superman. I don't like the way the writers and the director and all that's doing it. Again, Ray Palmer in the comics, he has a suit, a superhero suit made of white dwarf matter that helps him shrink. He's a scientist. He's this rich, smart guy, but he's not. He doesn't have like his own company. He's not super rich. Whereas this Ray Palmer, he's got a super suit, but it's like a metal suit, and he doesn't get the shrinking ability till later, and then he doesn't use it very often. He can fly around in it, lasers and all that. And when he first showed up in Arrow, he parked his helicopter on the roof of Oliver Queen's building, Queen Enterprises, because I guess he bought the company out. So that to me was not Ray Palmer. So that was a big strike against it. Also, they had Jeff Firestorm, who in this version was Martin Stein and Jefferson Jackson. Again, Jefferson Jackson was never part of the Firestorm Matrix. The only Jefferson I know of is Ronnie's friend. Again, Ronnie is the original Firestorm, Ronnie Raymond and Martin Stein. Like Michelle said, Martin Stein, the actor that played him, did a fantastic job. I would love to see him have a better chance at it. He was played by Victor Garber, who's an old school actor, so he's got the talent and the chops. I didn't care so much for Jefferson. Again, over in Flash, they had a Ronnie Raymond, but he was an older guy. He wasn't some dumb jock. He was actually working at Star Labs. I don't know, I just wasn't, and they didn't really use his powers, because in the comics, Firestar, he can fly, and his major ability that he uses is atomic, I forgot exactly what it's called, but he can rearrange the molecules and things and change one thing into something else. He's only did that slightly in the show. He usually like a nuclear fire blast. This seems a little more patterned after John Ossender's Firestorm near the end of the run. Had the brown costume, kind of like the brown Firestorms, the way he looked there at the end. Again, two of my favorite characters not handled well. They also had Hawk Girl, Hawkman, Captain Cold, and Heatwave. I liked
Captain Cold and Heatwave. They're fun. Captain
Cold was played by Dominic Purcell, and Heatwave was played by Wentworth Miller. I'm sorry, reverse those two. Captain Cold was Wentworth Miller, and Heatwave was Dominic Purcell. Eventually, spoilers, Captain Cold, if I'm not mistaken, was killed off in the show. I thought they did a good job overall. They weren't perfect, but yeah, they weren't a bad team for what they were doing. They were much better than Firestorm and the Atom, the way they were handled at least. But yeah, do you have any thoughts on that you want to talk about on Legends of Tomorrow?
No, I really like what's his name? The guy I'm always telling you about that I like.
Which guy's that?
The one with the trench coat.
Oh, Constantine. John Constantine.
I really like Constantine.
Yeah, John Constantine is played by Matt Ryan on here. He's the same Constantine from the NBC Hellblazer TV show. I think Matt Ryan does a great job as Constantine. Any problems, I guess in quotes, I have with it is just the way they write him. But I think Matt Ryan has the look. He's much better than Keanu Reeves was in the movie Constantine.
I just see Keanu Reeves as being from Bill and Ted. I can't get anywhere else from Bill, Constantine, or I see him as Neo. And
well, see, in the comics, Constantine, he's a British guy. In fact, he was basically modeled after Sting, the musician.
Okay.
I get a little more of that from Matt Ryan than I do Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I've already complained about this movie, but to complain about it some more, the very end of it just kind of ruins the character for me. Because it's based on a storyline from DC Comics, or from Vertigo Comics, which is an offshoot of DC. And in the storyline, again, spoilers, Constantine gets cancer, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he gets cancer, and he makes a deal with a couple different demons to keep from dying. Because basically, he makes his deal with a couple different demons, and when he dies, they're going to have to fight for his soul, and that's going to cause a lot of mayhem in hell, so he's able to come back to life because of that. And in the comics, when he does, he makes the deal, he comes back to life, he walks away, he smokes a cigarette, and he flips the devil off. Very Constantine, very arrogant, I could see Matt Ryan doing that. In the Constantine movie, they basically did the same thing, if I'm not mistaken, where he sold his soul, keep from dying, and he walks away, instead of lighting up a cigarette, because again, he had cancer he was dying from. He gets cured from it. An ordinary person would stop smoking, but Constantine says, hell with that, that's not who I am. I'm going to light up again. in the Constantine movie with Keanu Reeves, after he gets brought back to life, he pops a piece of gum.
Oh.
And to me, that Keanu Reeves as Constantine was wrong to begin with, but having him pop a piece of gum at the end, to me ruins the character. But again, this isn't about Constantine. This is about Legends Tomorrow. And again, but my problem, like I said, is they've leaned way too much. It wasn't quite so much in the first season, but they're on season, I think it's 5 or 6 now, and they've season 5, and they've leaned way into the goofy. I like some of the characters, I like some of the storylines, but overall, it's not what I really wanted.
Yeah, I agree with that, just because I now watch it for the comical aspect of it, and that's it.
Next show on my list is Outlander, which is a show on Netflix and Starz. It's about some girl that gets thrown back in time somehow. I heard it was a really good show, so Michelle and myself sat down to watch it. We watched, 5-10 minutes of the first episode, and it was just way too slow. We just couldn't get into it, so we turned it off.
It was bad.
Supposedly, it's supposed to be a really good show, but we just couldn't get into it. The next one on my list is one that's near and dear to my heart, Quantum Leap. As I said earlier, I'm a longtime fan of Quantum Leap. I watched it. I started the first season when it came out. My mom introduced me to it. I watched every episode. I watched it reruns on USA, on a couple of different channels. I bought the Blu-ray. Michelle, are you familiar with Quantum Leap?
Vaguely. Because I can't watch more than one episode at a time as we record the podcasts, so...
But even before that...
Okay, so for me, I've seen a few episodes in my youth. Well, I say youth, but like maybe high school, college level. And I don't remember if I've seen full episodes or just kind of watched, half episodes or like, this is cool, but kept flipping the channels. I don't remember. I just remember bits and pieces. However, I will say that the episodes I have seen in full length, I am absolutely hooked and love it to pieces.
Yes, Quantum Leap, it's about this scientist named Dr. Sam Beckett who invents a machine that allows him to travel in time. Originally, he was supposed to be able to use the travel in time, view things, and then come back. He left a little premature due to funding issues, and now he's bouncing around in time trying to find his way home. His assistant, his buddy, his friend is Admiral Al Calavici, who is a hologram for him, and he actually gives him advice and information on what he needs to do, or what he thinks he needs to do. But anyways, me and Michelle talks about that monthly over on the Starbright Project. The next one I briefly mention is Making History. Do you remember Making History, Michelle?
Making History?
We watched that one. If I'm not confusing this one, Making History is about the guys that had the duffel bag or whatever it was. They would climb inside you and travel through time.
Yes, I remember that vaguely, but yes, I enjoyed that one.
We watched it, I think it was on for a season or so.
Yes, that was fun.
It was more of a comedy. It was on, I want to say Fox or something. Or, I want to say Fox. And yeah, I enjoyed that for as long as it lasted. It was and see, I was saying I didn't care for Legends Tomorrow because it went to a comedy aspect. But Making History definitely went for the comedy aspect, and I really loved that one. So, again, that's what that was, where Legends Tomorrow was supposed to be more of a superhero show. So, I think that's the problem. Next one on my list is Doctor Who. I'm sure you're familiar with Doctor Who, Michelle?
Yep.
Doctor Who, again, I've seen a couple episodes here and there when I was younger. Me and Michelle and our kids, my middle son, Steven, we started watching it when they brought it back in the 2000s.
Ninth Doctor.
Yes, the ninth Doctor, played by Christopher Eccleston. In fact, I think he's probably my favorite Doctor, followed by...
My favorite Doctor is David Tennant.
David Tennant. But I also like Cavalli. I like the new one. The only one I didn't care for was Matt Smith. His face bothered me.
See, you guys didn't like Matt Smith, but I enjoyed him for what he was. He was a little goofy, And
the main thing I didn't like about that run of Doctor Who was two things. One, his face bothered me. It looked like he was wearing an ill-formed mask. And the other thing is, during Matt Smith's run, the show wasn't Doctor Who.
It was
Amy Pond guest starring Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And it was all about, because usually...
You can't fault him for that.
Well, no, but I don't like his face, though, so that's why I fault him. And again, I don't fault him per se. I'm not going to say, Matt Smith's a horrible person for doing that. I blame the writers and directors for that, but that was Matt Smith's Doctor Who. So, you can't divorce the two. But Doctor Who, I'm still watching it. I'm really enjoying. A lot of people don't care for the female Doctor. I'm really enjoying it.
I don't like it.
But we'll see what happens.
Peter
Capaldi.
Whatever.
Capaldi
had to grow on me. I really didn't care for it.
I liked him.
He was too grandpa.
Well, that's what I like, because a lot of the Doctors originally were older men, so...
Yeah, I know.
I know that was the oldest one you'd watched, but...
I've seen a few episodes of the older ones
but
because
that you sat down and watched on a regular basis.
But David Tennant, I could watch him for a very long time.
The next one on my list is a show called Life on Mars. This was on NBC. This was a remake of a British show of the same name. It was time travel, but it wasn't traveling. What it was this was a police detective was shot in the line of duty, and in modern day, and he wakes up in I believe it was the 70s. And so he's trying to figure out how to get home, how to return. Is he in coma dreaming? Did he really time travel? And if so, how does he get home? And the American version, the British version, ended both very differently. I don't know if you guys want me to spoil that, so I won't right now, but I enjoyed both. I enjoyed the ending of the British version better, and the British version also had a sequel called Ashes to Ashes, I believe it was, which was also a similar premise of a time travel show, that same way. And you never did watch that Life on Mars with me, did you?
Nope, it was a cop show.
Yes, it was a 70s cop show wrapped in a time travel burrito, if you will. The next one on my list is 11/22/63. This was a limited 6 or 8 episodes on like Hulu or Apple or somewhere. This was based on a Stephen King book. It starred, what's his face? James Franco.
You don't like him, do you?
I hate James Franco. I enjoyed the series, but I like stuff that James Franco's been in, but not because James Franco's in it. It would have been much better if it had been a different actor. The TV series was pretty good, but as me and my buddy Jacob always say, the book is always better. Again, this is based on a Stephen King book, 11/22/63. I think the title alone kind of tells you what it's about. Briefly, the story starts out with this guy that owns this restaurant, a little diner, and he's selling hamburgers really cheap. And this teacher, professor that's kind of friends with him, the professor finds out from the guy that what it is, he's got a closet in his restaurant that for some reason opens up a portal to 1962. It's always the same day when he goes back. So he's every day or every couple of days he goes back to the same day, buy meat from 1962, which is dirt cheap. So he's able to make really good hamburgers at a really cheap price. And the guy finds out that he's dying of cancer. So he convinces the main character, I forget his name now in the show or the book, to continue his mission. His mission was he was setting up, trying to find out a way to save, you guessed it, JFK. And so our lead character undertakes his mission to try to find a way to save JFK from being assassinated. Again, I recommend the book much more than the TV show, but the TV show was fine for what it was. Next one on my list is Journeyman. This was another, I think it was NBC. I remember watching it, but you know what? I can't remember for the life of me what it's about. And I don't think you watched this one with me either.
Nope.
Next on my list is 12 Monkeys. I watched the first season of 12 Monkeys. It was okay. It's based on the movie 12 Monkeys. Have you seen that movie, Michelle?
Nope.
With Brad Pitt, and I forget what else is in offhand, but yeah, 12 Monkeys. Oh, Bruce Willis, of course. Bruce Willis is being set back in the past, trying to find out how this virus came about and stop this group that they think is responsible, called the 12 Monkeys. Another one is Time Tracks. Time Tracks was another show I used to watch on UPN or somewhere, one of those offbeat channels. Again, I remember the name, but I don't remember much about it. So I'm not going to say it. I'm not looking up information on these other than the names and what I remember about them. And Michelle didn't watch that one, so no sense asking her. True Calling. I watched that one. That one there starred Alicia Dukush, I believe is how you pronounce her name. And pulling back the curtain a little bit, this is the day before 4th of July, actually the morning of 4th of July, and people get started a little early around here. Actually, they get started everywhere, but anyways. True Calling, Elijah Duku, whatever her name is, played this woman named True, who every so often she would travel back in time like 6 hours or 12 hours or something like that, and she would try to solve either a mystery or stop someone from being killed. It wasn't a bad TV show. I enjoyed it for what it was. I think it was a Fox show. I don't think you watched that one either, did you?
Nope.
And the rest of these, I'm going to read off a couple of names. Again, I didn't really watch any of these, so I don't have much information on them. If I come to one I did watch, I'll mention it. Time Tunnel, I believe that's an old time travel show. Sarah Jane Adventures, I watched part of that. That was a spin-off of Doctor Who. Going on from there, devs. They got Lost, listed as a time travel show. Me and Michelle watched Lost. We started watching that on our honeymoon. Yep. Dark Shadows, Russian Doll, Terminator, Sarah Connor Chronicles. I watched first season 2 of that one. It was all right. It was basically taking Terminator and it was invalidating Terminator, I think, 3 and beyond with its own continuity. Frequency. Again, I watched that first season at least. That's based on another movie. That one there, the movie I can talk more about because I'm more familiar with that one. It's this guy who works for the NY Fire Department, the New York Fire Departments. And he's got this old ham radio that his dad used to use due to Aureoreal Alice or solar flares or something. It's able to allow him to make a connection through time and talk to his dad, who's dead like 20 years prior. His dad was killed in the line of duty, and so him and his dad are trying to find out who this serial killer was and stop him from killing more people. Again, I prefer the movie better than the TV show. I usually do, because usually the TV shows are more dragged out, and a lot of times they take the same plot and stuff. So, going on from there, I'm just going to jump around a little bit. Next, here's another one we can talk about, Travelers. Michelle, have you heard of the show called Travelers?
Yes, I have.
Travelers, one again, I found that in my research. First we tried the Outlander. We didn't care for that, so let's find another one. So I looked at Travelers. It's a 3-season show on Netflix about these people that are travelers that are sent from the future to the 21st century trying to right things and make time come out better. We're at the beginning of the 3rd season on this one. Michelle, what are your thoughts on Traveler?
I'm really enjoying it. It's a really good show.
Also, I'm going to mention The Umbrella Academy. Me and Michelle's watched this one. This is about a team of superheroes that's being trained at this academy, and one of the members can travel through time. Michelle, Umbrella Academy, your thoughts on that?
It's a fantastic show as well.
Any other thoughts on that? No?
I like the plot and how the characters develop in that one. I like the different personalities in that one as well.
The Umbrella Academy, it's based on a comic book series. I haven't actually read the series yet, but again, much like Michelle, I really enjoyed the first season of Umbrella Academy. I can't wait for the 2nd season to come out. Great show. Next one I mention is Flash Forward. This was an NBC show, I want to say. I remember watching it. I think this one here was this... Was he was a cop or something. Probably because I watched this, so it was probably a cop show. And when if I'm not mistaken, if he got killed, he would travel back to the beginning of the next day and relive his day. I really enjoyed that show. Next one on this list is Heroes. Me and Michelle, I think you watched Heroes with me, didn't you?
Yeah,
Or part of it?
Yeah, no, I watched it.
It was 4 seasons.
Yeah, I really liked it.
5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got it on DVD. I really enjoyed Heroes. The last couple of seasons got a lot of flack. It wasn't as good. After the writer's strike, and I'm not blaming the writer's strike because they could have came back and done it properly afterwards. They kind of left some plot things dangling, and it just wasn't quite as good afterwards. Next one I mentioned is Ashes to Ashes, which I mentioned earlier. It's kind of a sequel to the British... what was it called again? Life on Mars. There we go. A couple of shows I'm going to mention briefly. There was Time Traveling Bong. Never heard of that. Just thought it was an interesting name. Captain Z-RO. Never seen that one. There's a lot of other shows. I may list them. I'm not going to read off the whole list because the rest of them I have nothing really to say about. Me and Michelle haven't watched them. But again, I just wanted to briefly mention a little bit about time travel. Again, I'm a big time travel fan. I always have been. Michelle enjoys time travel. I don't think she's quite the fan that I am. But she enjoys time travel too. Don't you, Jen?
Oh, yeah. It's definitely up there in the list of things I do actually enjoy.
But I guess that's going to do it for this episode, for this segment at least. Like I'll probably list this entire list that I found on the website over at head.headspeaks.com if you want to check them out. I definitely recommend the ones that we've mentioned that we recommended. Also, I definitely recommend checking out our shows, The Star Bright Project, which comes out the first Thursday of the month, and Voyager's Cast, which comes out the second Thursday of the month. Both great shows, in my opinion. We have guests on there occasionally, sometimes very special guests, looking at episode 3 of The Star Bright Project. But I guess that's going to do it. In fact, I think that's all we do for this episode. So we're going to go ahead and end it here. Remember, check out my other shows on the network, on their individual feeds. But that's going to do it for this episode. Until next time, when I cover... What am I covering? Oh, yeah, Armageddon and Inferno, the first 2 issues. Plus whatever else I get around and feel like covering, we'll see. Remember, Head has spoken. Thank you for listening to another fantastic episode of Head Speaks. Hope you enjoyed it. If so, let me know. Drop me an email to head@headspeaks.com or visit our home at head.headspeaks.com. You can also visit and talk with me on Facebook and Google+, both under Head Speaks. You can also send an MP3 file with your thoughts and I can play that on the air. And you can also get more of me on my other podcasts. Be sure to listen to Task Force X, where monthly I look at John Ossinger's Suicide Squad and Paul Kuppenberg's Checkmate comics from the 80s and early 90s. Also, over on G.I. Joe, a Real American Headcast, my podcasting friends Ryan Daly and Kyle Benning, along with myself, are looking at all of the G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero comics, and related titles from Marvel and IDW. All of my headcasts are available on iTunes and Stitcher, along with the respective blogs and my main page at headspeaks.com. All comments, thoughts, and opinions expressed on Head Speaks are owned wholly by the speaker of said comments and do not express the opinions of Head Speaks, unless, of course, I'm the one making the comments. Head Speaks, Task Force X, and G.I. Joe, a Real American Headcast, are all part of the Headcast family. So join us next month for another wonderful episode of Head Speaks. Until then, I'll see you in the funny pages. Good night.